And hello there, welcome to another episode of Business Focus here on TV3 with me, Michael Obodu. Coming up tonight on Business Focus, we delve into a crucial development for Ghana's economy, the expected $370 million disbursement from the IMF and $300 million from the World Bank. This comes as Ghana also resumes debt repayments. We'll examine the potential impact of these combined factors on the city, the business community, and the nation's economic future. Also later on the show, as inflation continues to drop with June's rate at 13.7%, we'll ask, will the Bank of Ghana be under pressure to cut its key lending rates? We'll bring you details of these and many other stories shortly. But do remember that Business Focus is sponsored by Telecel and EcoBank. Now, every day people face different emergencies: police emergency, fire emergency, medical emergency, you name it. But many Ghanaians don't know their emergency numbers. Well, here's one you would want to remember, and that's star 770 hash. Yes, star 770 hash is the new EcoBank money emergency number. Star 770 hash gives you instant access to loans, fund transfers, utility payments, airtime and data purchases, and so much more, even without data. So there's no need to panic when you find yourself in any money emergency. EcoBank will always come to your rescue. Dial star 770 hash now for solutions to your money emergencies. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. We'll turn our attention now to the currency and the commodities market and bring you updates. Now, on the global front, the price of cocoa is currently at $8,290 per ton. It's up by some $189. Cocoa is also trading at $3,332 per ounce. The price is down by over $4. Crude oil is also currently at $69.2 per barrel. It's up by less than $1. Away from that, also, we'll turn our attention now to the currency market, where the dollar currently will be bought from you at 10 cedis 34 pesos, sold to you at 10 cedis 35. The pound bought from you at 10 cedis 7 pesos, sold to you at 10 cedis 9 pesos. The euro will be bought from you at 12 cedis 11 pesos, sold to you at 12 cedis 12 pesos. Be guided that these figures will be much higher at a Forex Bureau near you. Now, we'll turn our attention to the current Treasury bill rate on the market. The 91-day bill is going for 14.57%. 182-day bill is going for 15.02%. And the 364-day bill is going for 15.14%. And these are some of the conversations that we'll be having later on the show, where concerns are coming up about the fact that the Treasury bill rate is now quite higher than the current inflation rate, about 13.47. What does that mean for the industry and the likes? We'll be delving into those conversations. Stay with us. This is Business Focus. Welcome back to Business Focus here on TV3. My name is Michael Obodu. So some very interesting developments on the economic front of the country. Ghana is expected to secure board-level agreement, hopefully by close of day today, with the IMF to secure the release of some $370 million as part of the IMF bailout program. In the midst of this also, we know the World Bank is preparing some $300 million to release to the country. However, there are concerns amidst these inflows that Ghana is beginning to resume payment of its debt. One of them is the Eurobond debt, which some are concerned. Will this have any impact on the economy, or the fundamentals are strong enough to absorb such shocks? Well, we'll take you through memory lane briefly on how far we've come as a country with the IMF bailout program and where we are currently. So Ghana secured a critical staff level agreement some months back with the IMF, unlocking the release of a $370 million, the fifth tranche under the $3 billion bailout program. We know that the board is meeting today to give a final verdict on whether or not Ghana will get the $370 million. But we know that the country has been able to meet majority or a significant chunk of the requirements to secure the release. And at least if history is anything to go by, every time we secured staff level agreements, we were able to also additionally secure board level agreement. So fingers crossed on how that goes out by close of day. Hopefully by tomorrow, we should know where we stand as a country. Now, to give you a trend of how the disbursements have gone over the last couple of years since we signed up to this program. First, in May, we got our first tranche of 600 million. In January, we got the next tranche for 600 million. July, 360. December, just about the elections time, we got our 360. And then also we are expecting the 370 million Ghana's dollars somewhere around this time, hopefully, if we're able to secure the IMF bailout board level approval for the final tranche under the program. Now, we do also have some debts that we've been able to settle as a country. There's the October 2024 one. There was also January 2025, the domestic bondholders. This government says it remains committed to clearing those debts and it will honor its bond obligations to domestic bondholders. Also, in July 2025, a few days ago, the government also began payments for the Eurobond holders after securing significant agreement with them. So my guests are seated in studio right now. We'll be delving into the conversations for today on what really the issues are, and we'll be delving into the nitty-gritty to see if they really have concerns on how things will pan out when Ghana starts retaining its repaying its debt, and if they have worries that this could erode the gains that the economy has made over the last couple of months that I believe the business community appears pretty happy about. So Ghana's economic landscape is poised for a significant shift as the nation anticipates substantial financial injections from the international partners coinciding with the resumption of its debt repayment obligations. This dual development presents both opportunities and challenges that will keenly impact the city, the broader business community, and the country's economic trajectory. Now, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, is expected to disburse $370 million, while the World Bank is set to provide an additional $300 million in funding. What are the economic implications? Well, joining us today is Professor Peter Quartey, an economist and director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research. Also in studio is Charles Kusi Apia-Kubi. He's the head of Business and Economic Bureau of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA. And also in studio is Dr. Humphrey Yim Daka. He's the president of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us in studio. I'll start off with you, Prof. Really, with all these expected inflows and anticipated outflows, is there really a cause for concern? Professor Quartey?
Yes.
This question is to you, sir, and thank you so much for joining us. So with all that's happening, we are resuming our debt payments, but we are still expecting some inflows. Should we be concerned about how the cedi would fare in the next couple of weeks or months?
Well, we should be concerned, but I don't think we should worry about what the implications on the cedi, in the sense that we have a central bank that applies its monetary policy rules and policies. and therefore, if there is an inflow, it will manage the inflow carefully. Mind you, our exchange rate system is not a fully floating system. We have a managed float system where, as and when the need arises, the central bank intervenes. So I believe it will release the inflow into the system gradually, but not let everything dump or be dumped into the economy and create significant appreciation in the cedi. Because when that happens, importers will also suffer. Buying you any appreciation in the cedi also affects exports. In as much as it encourages it encourages imports, it also affects exports negatively, and therefore we ought to be careful how we strike a delicate balance.
Interesting, but on the other hand, with the expected inflows, do you see any further appreciation really on the currency? Because put together, at least from the IMF and the World Bank, that's over $600 million of inflows.
Well, if you look at the current trajectory, you look at the current appreciation, we can just say confidently that this can lead to an appreciation in the currency. But as I mentioned, that fear can be removed once we have a central bank that is proactive. We have a central bank that gauges the market. We have a central bank that talks to the people, engages on the market, and sees what it has to intervene and intervene at the appropriate time. So I believe that in as much as the possibility of an appreciation is there, the central bank will engage in what we term managed float, will supply dollars to the system as and when the need arises, and also hold on to the dollar if it thinks it will lead to a significant appreciation in the cedi.
Interesting. Prof, please hold on for me, and I'll come in studio to you, Dr. Humphrey Yimdake. I don't know, do you agree with Prof on this, or you as business people are more concerned?
Well, I mean, the fundamentals as captured by Prof largely is true, but the concern, as you have such significant inflows coming in, is that you need to look at the historicals, and the historicals within the last 6 months indicate government has significantly about 3 to 4 months reserve, and the further inflows of this kind then boost further confidence in the managing of the inflation, what they call exchange rate factor, as Doctor mentioned. So to us, we see it as deepening the confidence in the market. Will that affect the cedi in terms of further appreciation? It's possible. However, you should realize that the BOG and then the fiscal aspect are mindful of how far the cedi appreciates, and therefore they will seem to be doing a targeted management of the exchange rate so as not to overdrive the export sector into difficulties, and however to manage it such that the imports coming in, as it is now, it will be exciting to be doing a lot of importation, but what are you importing? If you're importing industrial raw materials to add value, that is a plus. If you're adding finished products that are coming in to compete, that is a form of a negative, even though it's exciting to see that to have price effect. But the next stage is that you need to interrogate to see whether the price effect from my colleagues in Guta is really translating onto the final consumer as an issue. So to us, the best thing it will do for the economy is to drive down the speculative nature of the guru men on the street, and that drives the exchange rate significantly beyond what the BOG does. Today, when you go to the interbank rate, it's around 10 plus, but if you go into the real market, you see it about 12. That gap is mostly speculative, and therefore we need to find a way to bridge it further as the inflationary rate drops. Don't forget that it's a inflation target economy that we run, and so therefore the trend of the inflation matters in this case.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Guru boys, but I do understand that the banks in the country at the moment have sufficient dollars to supply. So why are the Guru boys coming in this? Or you don't agree with that?
No.
Well, if the BOG says it has sufficient funds, and then they are doing managing the exchange rate to a particular target, it might be as part of the strategy, knowing very well that in the next 2 months, possibly this week, there's significant over 700 million coming in. It will drive down the speculative nature and possibly drive down the market demand and make sure the gap between the interbank rate and that of the open market transactions closes. We need that to bring the stability of the city for us to plan effectively.
Okay. You wanted to comment on the Goro Boys issue?
Oh, yes.
Is this the banks, they don't have enough dollars?
Yes.
Are we still there?
Yes. You remember in one of our engagement, we said that, yes, it's good. We've seen some stability. We've seen the city gaining strength. However, there are some people who have also invested their economic interests so far as forest transactions concerned. That's the Abochi people. And they will not sit idle for their business to collapse. The caution that we sent out is that the only way we can avoid any insurgency in terms of forest is to ensure that there's availability of forest to meet trade demands. If you go to the commercial banks now, the facts and the reality is that it is difficult, very difficult, to get your trade transaction go through. They tell you there's a queue. And this alone is giving a field day for the forest people, the black market people. So Bank of Ghana rate here look very attractive, but real transaction is beyond 12.8%. I mean 12.8 to a dollar. Yes, we want to go to the black market now.
Yeah, that's the black market.
Yes, because the banks, the commercial banks, do not have. If they do, all right, probably they have to come out and tell us, because all trade transaction, OTT, outer transaction we have sent to them, it takes more than a week.
That I agree with him.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And if you're a business person, time is a factor to you. So you have no other option than to go to the black market. Then you go and purchase forest at a higher rate. Then you bring to the bank, and the bank will charge you swap fee of 2% of the value that you're transacting. This is the reality on the ground. We threw this caution to central bank to ensure that commercial banks have enough forest to meet trade demand. That is where the challenge is. That is why I was shaking my head that the reality on the ground is different from what the books are telling us. So we are happy from the trade community that there's an influx. There's a supposed influx of about $600 million coming into our economy. That, of course, will show our forest reserve. That, of course, will reduce the waiting time that trade have to wait before trade transfers are effected. That, of course, will ensure that the call for stability in terms of prices will be achieved.
May I sound this caution? We as we engage, we should have the realization that we are not out of the woods. Yes, the economy is still in the woods. There are weakness in the fundamentals, even though the trends, because our debt position is still well exposed, and we know we have significant obligations to pay. And then between the finance minister and the Bank of Ghana, they will be very cautious about what is happening. And you could see what happened between the foreign minister and that of the is it a Senate
US
in US. That and there are deliberate efforts to reset the economy and to correct the wrongs. Yes, it comes at a price, which are painful to stakeholders in there. But if you look at the larger picture, I see this as one of the strategies to contain it and meet the various IMF indicators, and as well as draw down and balance and make sure the forex is stable, the inflation trend is positive. However, the question will be, how do you sustain those inflation trends? Those are the discussions we really want to have to strengthen the productivity, the gains that are being made in the forex, the gains of the inflationary rates going down. Where are we diverting it to? Into structural transformation. If the $300 million coming from the World Bank should be part of our inflows, where are we targeting it? Is it going into the Feed the Ghana project? Is it going into the 24-hour project? Those are the hard lines we need to interrogate so that the gains that are coming in will be long-term and they will be productive to grant sustainability into the future. That is what we're looking out for.
And your point just leads me to my next question. That goes to Prof. Prof, in the midst of this also, we understand that some of the money that the government is expecting from the World Bank, for instance, will go into the payment of contractors. The concern when we begin this payment is the fact that it would also could impact inflation, the gains that we've made. Do you agree with that?
Well, certainly there will be some inflationary component of it, but let's also look at the other side of it. That if you don't pay contractors and our roads are bad, food cannot be moved from the production areas to areas where they are needed, and that can also be inflationary. So we need to strike a balance. Certainly, we have to construct we have to pay contractors, but again, we have a central bank that will manage some of this. If you pay contractors and there's more money in the system, yet it's going to generate or promote or stimulate the real sector. It's going to promote production. Then the inflationary effect can also be minimized. So, in all, it depends on how we use the resources. One caution I want to throw in there is that it's not a gift. The money that we are receiving are not gifts; they are loans. We have to repay. So we ought to use them efficiently, use them, prioritize and use them at the areas that we need them most. Would use them and apply these loans, not generate resources to repay when the time comes. In as much as it will show up our reserves, it will lead to help in stabilizing the exchange rate and all the benefits. We ought to also use this money efficiently.
But Prof, from where you sit, this inflation gains that we've made to about 13.7%, realistically, is this sustainable or is just temporary?
Oh yeah, given how far we have come and the policies we are implementing, of course, seeing the appreciation in the exchange rate, I mean, we are likely to sustain this over time. But with a caveat, though, that we have relied too much on rain-fed agriculture. So these days, you see, we are seeing rainfall, we are seeing food production improving over time. But God forbid, if there is any drought or there is any challenge to agricultural sector, we'll be having problems. God forbid, if there is any external shock, we'll be having problems. So my point is, we ought to change the structure of our production. We rely too much on rainfed agriculture. We not adding much value to agriculture, not much storage, not much value addition. Let's take advantage of the current dispensation and gradually add value and also change our production structure.
Prof, interesting submission, but some industry people have also raised concerns that this government, especially after all of its pro-agric policies that it had touted, made very marginal allocations for the agricultural sector compared to the previous year. For you as AGI, where do you sit with this inflation conversation? How do you think we can fix it?
Well, as stated by the Prof, they still have a midterm budget review to do a further adjustment. They've rolled out a number of agriculture projects. And now that the trends are positive, all they need to do is that the gains in them must be invested in the agrarian business purposefully so that we could see the trends sustainability. And we are of the even opinion that, listen, what is happening in the gold industry with the gold board? It's becoming a state-owned institution that is using to correct the wrongs in the gold industry, i.e. the small-scale industry. Same happens in the case of GOIL. GOIL is a state institution with a private sector injection by virtue of the stock market. But it's one of the institutions that we use to normalize the anomalies in the, what we call downstream as and when it happens. Can we create one for the agriculture space? I believe the buffer stock was supposed to do that. Can they
I don't
oil
know
it?
if gold is a good example in this
Well,
case because
but I
as
gave
we
you-
speak at the moment, they are among the highest on the market compared to the
but
rest.
in terms of criticality, they will use gold's benchmarking rates to normalize the issue. So you can look at the trends and as and when it comes.
Fair.
But the argument is that in the case of agriculture, that has become one of the driving force of the inflation basket. Why don't we create an institution? And I think we have one. like buffer. How do you make sure buffer stock and its value chain becomes the institution to correct the anomalies? You see inflation for the food basket, presumably in Tamale, over 70%. You come down to the south, it's about 35%. Which institution do you use to correct the anomalies within the market? Elsewhere, that is what you use. And therefore, the government should create robust institutions with a private sector participation, so that it gives you a bit of private sector flavor, like go, and use that to correct the anomalies as and when it happens. The economic market that we play in, it's never been a case of totally free demand and supply, where the forces of demand and supply should be the only factor to governing an enterprising market. We believe strongly that elsewhere this is done. So, and the muscle of government cannot be underestimated. And that is significant with what has been happening on the gold market. So we urge government to support institutions in that Greek space to do value additions for purposes of food security, for purposes of food sovereignty. That is what will aid us to create the sustainability into the years.
It's good you mentioned value addition, because that really is where you come in as
That's
AGI.
correct.
So maybe I'll listen to Guta first, and you come back and explain to us what is your challenge with the value addition, because until industry like you are able to take advantage of the bumper harvest and add value to this, we would still be running this cycle of lean season, high cost, and bumper harvest, and we running losses.
Yes.
So with you on the inflation conversation, where do you sit with it?
Oh, of course, we've seen inflation coming down. Basically, it's engineered by policies from government, which I agree to. But you also agree with me that when economic activity slows down, it sees productivity, which of course must be looked at as inflation coming down. When trade is not moving, when we are not purchasing, when outflows have been affected because sales are not going on, the rate at which price of items will increase will either stagnate or come down. Probably that could be also feeding into it. What we want to see is a vibrant economy that is growing to ensure that it accommodates every business that wants to grow. Yes, that is where our focus is. And of course, as trading association, there's sometimes the conversation of us doing backward integration, where we also want to see how best can we also get into manufacturing to ensure that at least we have the distribution channels to ensure continuity and sustainability in terms of flow from the farm gate to the market. But the challenge is, if you want to do mechanical farming, it's very expensive, it's capital expensive. That is what is also accounting for inflation when it comes to food, because everything from machinery to labor is expensive, input expensive. So if government is really committed in ensuring that we change the narratives when it comes to economic discussion and we're using agro as a base of changing the economy, then there must be a dedicated capital funding to ensure that businesses that are already doing well in the farming industry are supported. You see, they are giving some rebate in terms of taxation. I have a lot of people who want to enter into rice farming, and the capital they have invested, if they have gone to any bank, no bank will be willing to do that. So there's a need for us to see if we have a bank called Agricultural Development Bank. They are dedicated to ensuring that we roll out this economic growth through agriculture. Understand the dynamics. It's to surprise you, people who profess to be head of this department don't understand what farming is about. So when they are supposed to develop solutions to avert the challenges within the agriculture sector, it becomes a difficult thing. Therefore, it is a need for government to engage those who are into mechanical agriculture to understand their challenges, their dynamics, and see how best we can find solutions to address all these. Other than that, to be a cliche, we will talk about it every day and every now, but the real effect that we should change our economic narrative, we will not achieve that.
Just to be fair to ADB, at least I interviewed the MD some months ago at the Coal Business Forum. He said that his tenure is going to ensure that there's an uptick in the allocation.
So we want
increase
to see
in the allocation for the
moving
agricultural
from
sector.
talks to real action.
Fair point.
We are in the 7th month, and we cannot be talking about coal event.
Wow.
Coal was somewhere about 3 months ago.
I'm
See,
only saying what
we
I-
as a country, we should move to the point that we should reduce our talking and get to real action. Right?
Fair point. Doc, so to you quickly, in summary, for you as AGI, what is the challenge now and how do we address it? Because I know that at least this government has given some waiver for the importation of agricultural machinery. and the like. So what really is your drawback now?
So besides the duty drawback has not been paid, I spoke to the governor.
Yeah.
I think a number of my members are still have that. They are trying to map up the route. There are issues that we need to handle with the duty drawback.
Okay.
Secondly, it's our wish to see this trend of inflation dropping affecting policy rates and affecting T-bill rates. Because the state of the T-bill rates currently, it's crowding out the private sector in terms of borrowing.
But Doc, what options really does the BOG have when you're trying to really control the inflation? If you start, remember that once you start releasing, dropping your MPR, it could also directly impact inflation.
So there must be a balance. That's why he has a job. Part of his job is to bring stability into the price, and he's a friend.
It must be a tough job.
Well, that is why he's been taken care of very well. He's been paid to think through this issue. That's his job. Okay. So he must figure it out whilst he seeks to bring inflation basket down, to draw down the policy rates, and also to make sure that the T-bill rates go down. That is what will stir out productivity. And to us, once you step productivity up, consumption will go up. And then as he seeks to pay, the Minister of Finance seeks to pay some contractors, then becomes a stimulus to the market for a growth. So over the periods, we've gone through a lot of difficulties, and we need that stimulus and then the drawdown on the policy rate, interest rate.
Yes. As you hold the governor of the Bank of Ghana to account, we also as the media will hold you, AGI, to account, because the economy evolves around you. When you start producing and adding value to the agricultural produce, this economy will get better.
Fortunately, it's looking positive. We need to trigger the policy rate and interest rate, and between the two of us, we will stay up.
Your best with what you have for now, and then we'll see how to figure the rest.
Basically, you remember the last
please.
MPC, but Bank of Ghana decided to hold on to the policy rate because they said they want to take that stance monetary policy to ensure they kept inflation down. This inflation is about 13.7 now. That's a good change, right?
That is significant.
Exactly. So what we're expecting in the next MPC is that it'll be a correlation, a response to policy rate. And let me say this. There are factors that causes inflation. Cost push is also a factor. So when cost of borrowing goes high, of course, it has a translation to cost of doing business, which of course affect prices. So we are expecting the next MPC, at least 200 or 300 basis point reduction in policy rate will be much more applauded and appreciated by businesses.
He maintained the rate and it has dropped from about 18 to 13.
Now,
maybe that is the magic number.
So now business must also have that respite.
There must be a balance.
Okay, so that at least we can also get into more economic activity to ensure growth for this country.
I'm sure the governor is watching. He said he's your friend, so we'll see.
He's our friend.
He's our friend.
We'll see what he makes of your submissions. But this is Business Focus here on TV3. We'll go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Business Focus here on TV3 with me, Michael Obodu. Just gone by were tidbits from EcoBank on starting small and how to beef up your savings. Remember that Business Focus is sponsored by Telecel and EcoBank. Now, every day people face different emergencies, police emergencies, fire emergency, medical emergency, you name it. But many Ghanaians don't know their emergency numbers. Well, here's one you'd want to always remember. That's *770#. Yes, *770# is the new EcoBank money emergency number. *770# gives you instant access to loans, funds transfers, utility payments, airtime and data purchases, and so much more even without data. So there's no need to panic when you find yourself in any money emergency. EcoBank will always come to your rescue. Dial *770# now for solutions to your money emergencies. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Now we'll segue into some more conversation. We'll be connecting now to Connect FM in Takoradi, FM station there based in Takoradi, a subsidiary of Media General. It's renowned for its annual Western Trade Fair. This large-scale event features exhibitors, innovative products, networking opportunities, and special deals. The Western Trade Fair is coming on again this year. Joining us via Zoom is the Assistant Sales Manager at Connect FM, Mausi William Doche. Thank you so much for joining us. So very interesting times coming up. What should we really expect from this event?
Well, this year we should expect more from the vendors and also more from us at Connect FM in Takoradi, Western region.
Okay, so give us details of the events. Where is it happening? For how many days? And what products will be on display?
Thank you. For this year's event will be happening at Takoradi Mall, the biggest mall center in Takoradi. It's on 26th of this month, July, and going for 10 days. We ending on the 4th of August.
Fantastic. So who are the primary targets of this event from businesses and consumers alike?
This year's fair is an open fair. We accepting all types of products, varieties of products across the country. Already we've registered about 80% of the vendors coming across. Some are coming from the eastern region, some are coming from the northern part of the region, some in the western region, some coming from the Portal region. So it's an open fair whereby when you come, you will see varieties of items being exhibited.
Oh, so you still have space for people who would want to partake. Is there a number they can reach you on?
Yes, there are numbers they can reach us on. We have a limited space. There is 0245 7878 86 0245 787886. Any vendor, any company that want to exhibit some are services, some are products. If you want a platform to exhibit your product or a medium to channel your communication, your information about services you are providing, you have to transact this business.
Okay, so is there a free event for consumers, patrons, people who want to come around, or do they have to pay?
Yeah, you have to pay register. So when they call the number, we'll help them with the process of registration.
Okay, but for patrons who want to come to the fair, they don't have to pay, do they? If you want to be a
they
party,
don't have to pay.
they don't have to
But
pay.
we providing a service whereby they have to pay, which is the zoo. We in talks with.
Oh, that's fine. So if you pay to see the
Kumasi
zoo.
Zoo, we in talks with Kumasi Zoo to bring the lions or the animals at Kumasi Zoo to be at the trade fair this year as a side attraction this year for the Western Trade Fair. So you are not only coming to buy, but also a form of.
I get what you mean. I saw some donkeys and horses in the videos from last year, but it sounds exciting. I think we'll make time to be there and join you with your fair. Thank you so much for your time. That was Assistant Sales Manager at Connect FM. They're joining us with live updates on what to expect from the trade fair that will be happening in the region. But Doc, at least you can give us some flowers. We are helping promoting Made in Ghana. A 10-day fair,
That's
basically.
Right. I was wondering whether he's in touch with my Takoradi branch. We have the Association of Ghana Industries in Takoradi. If you could reach out, they should be partnering you as you expand the space for trading and then manufacturing.
Fantastic. We just signed a contract on there. Congratulations. Now, Prof, before you leave us, any final words? How do we sustain the gains that we've made? Do you also agree with the idea that the policy rate should come down in the next announcement by the committee? Prof. Kote? Well, we'll try and connect with Prof shortly, but I'm sure, Doc, you agree with the fact that policy rate should come down in the next meeting, or? Yeah,
we agree on that, but we are looking at the sustainability, and that is why we're going beyond the tokenism of just making it come down by a few percentage points. What's next beyond that? And we are considering that government is pushing the agenda of resetting the economy. We are considering the effort and then the capacity of government. It's our prayer that we could see government sponsoring some couple of SOEs with an exit plan that will do value addition to some significant product like maize. How do you convert maize into flour and package it well, because maize is one of the drivers. And a number of products that we can go in. Because with the gains government has made, with the intervention of IMF, that will be exiting sometime next year, you have a short window. You need to be, you need to marshal the force. And for private sector to marshal that force, it might take a lot of time because the factors of production are still high, i.e. the cost of power is still pretty high. Last week, thereabout, I took an investor to Japan to check on the Japan textile factory. Their computation, and they look at the cost of power, it's a deterrent, correct? So therefore, for the food basket, which is one of the biggest drivers, at this stage, as you're resetting, government to be bold, take up a couple of SOEs, clean them, or set up new ones with an exit plan that private sector can participate in to de-risk the market, to draw down the price of rice, maize, and other staples that are in the city. Do that within this window of opportunity that events are positive. When you do that and we are stabilized, you can privatize it, and then we pick it up from there. We need such bold interventions. One may interrogate it, that can a free market do that? We believe a free market could do that, add values to all that the buffer stocks are doing. For yams, there are preservatives. For pepper, many products that you could do. So government to go the next step, support private sector, create PPPs to do significant intervention in the food basket to correct these inflationary issues.
Talking about the SOEs, at least I was at the meeting where the president met all heads of SOEs.
Yes.
He sounded a caution that if you do not perform, he reserves the right to fire you.
Yes.
Some have also called for the SOEs to be listed on the stock exchange to raise the needed funds. Do you agree with that?
I agree with the latter.
Okay.
What the president told them, who is monitoring? After that excellent speech with the SOEs, are you monitoring? Have you put in a metrics to track the SOEs independent of what Auditor General or other institutions are doing? You need to do that independently. Let's put some put their legs in the fire and get them to order. So I agree that we need to move on to the next stage, because the SOEs with well-supported intervention to the stock market, getting patient capital, either through the pension funds or other associated ones, could speedily, because the window of opportunity we have now will not last forever. So within 2-3 years, when you get this, it will help this sustainability of the inflationary basket being driven by the food basket. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc. So, Kusi, you have the last word.
Okay, let me have the last bite. Yeah. Of course, I support what Doc is calling for. That will mean that there's a need to have reforms within our regulatory regime and how we do business in Ghana, where when any business needs funding, you go and bring proposals, long essays, which the business person doesn't even understand the essay. Go and bring this, go and bring that. We can't be doing business as usual in an unusual situation. There must be a change. Therefore, if government is interested in revamping the economy to ensure private sector become the engine of growth, we should change how we do our things. So many multiple of layers in doing businesses in Ghana. And it's become disincentive for anyone to do that. And the last of it, yes, we are calling for a reduction in the policy rate. Of course, we are also sending caution that Bank of Ghana should be data-driven to ensure that even though as it's trying to respond to our call, it will not throw us back into a resurgence of inflation. We are also calling on the central bank to ensure that there's enough forex flow to the commercial banks to meet trade demand so that we do not fall into the black market, which also, of course, will cause price of items to go high and also affect inflation. In all, we are Ghanaians and we are interested in investing our interest in Ghana. They should create that enabling environment for us to do so without stress.
Thank you so much. I think this is the first time in a long while that I've seen AJ and Guta really agree on a lot of issues. I guess it's because it's about money this time. But anyway, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you, too.
That'll be all for today's edition of
Beautiful.
Business Focus. Earlier today on the show, we have Professor Peter Quartey, economist and director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research. Also in studio was Dr. Humphrey Yimdaka, president of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, Charles Kusi Apia Kubi, head of Business and Economic Bureau of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, Guta. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us in studio. Catch you same time next week. Later on News 360, we'll bring you more updates from the world of business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for watching. Catch you same time next week.
Business Focus.